What's good, YouTube? We're back today with another Market Watch. And there's going to be quite a few hand traps on this Market Watch. We're going to go through the hand traps. And the first one on here is Cyframe Gear Gamma. Now, Gamma is on here mainly because there's a huge difference in its prices between TCG Player and eBay. You see here it's at 1044. It's been on a quote-unquote downward slope. I think he was up to 12, and he's just slowly climbed it back down. But I believe the last time I covered him on the channel, he was 6, or he spiked that night to 10 before. Interestingly enough, you can get him way cheaper on eBay. That's 20% when I say way cheaper. I know it's just $2, but for a playset that can matter a lot if you're able to get from multiple sellers right now. And it quickly does go back up to that $10 mark. But basically there's deals to be had on this man's. So what I want to bring up about this is his main best use was in the grass decks, because you'd activate grass with no monsters on field. They would ash, and you would be able to negate ash with Cyframe Gear Gamma. Great play! But similarly, you can still use it in zoo decks. You activate Barrage. Want to do anything to my Barrage? Oh, no? Alright, I'm going to continue. But if they do, if they decide to ash that Barrage, Ghost Ogre that Barrage, etc., Gamma is there and lets it resolve. Pretty darn good. I think it's personally good. Shuping managed, I believe, to take first place in New York using this card at the regionals, although I don't think his list will end up online. It's just very, very interesting that this is going downward so fast. I think it was mainly for grass users, though, that it was receiving hype in, but I think it can still be heavily played in decks such as zoo decks, and I think it's the least expected hand trap. So going into Nationals / the WCQs, I think this is one of those cards to watch. Although playing a driver in your deck is like playing another Takum Tomborg at times, or at least it can feel like it. Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit is up from when I last covered it. I did not know that this card was borderline $6, $5.25 and headed upwards, it looks like, for the supers, although the norm, it seems down versus the norm. I think a lot of people already have theirs that wanted theirs, but going into Nationals, this is a card that I think we'll see more and more and more play. Zoo decks seem to be really piling on the hand traps, especially to compensate for when Norden and Teartop are going to be out of the format. And I think that's a pretty good call. Ghost Ogre is one of the best current hand traps in the format. It lets you save your ash depending on what you want to destroy. And it overall just has a really good look at being able to stop so many different things like Diagram that are expensive and powerful. I wouldn't sleep on it, but I don't think it will go up much higher, if at all. But if you don't have yours already, this is definitely a card, if you're a zoo player, to be considering as well. And we see 530, lowest on eBay, so actually you save a couple pennies going over to TCG Player right now. And something to note is the secret is also way above market price if you have a secret. You see this quote-unquote norm of 23, and the lowest near mint is 2541. I think it actually wasn't that way, because I think before I refreshed my tabs, it was at this 27. So somebody has listed theirs lower. Sun City Games, thanks a lot, man. But it's really cool to see that even the unlimited version of this is bordering up that high. And when I say cool, I mean in terms of its prevalence in the meta. Not cool that you're having to pay more for it if you didn't already get yours. But you had multiple chances to get this low if you had been waiting for the card. And we'll just go ahead and look secret here to see how it is on eBay. Oh, thank God, no weird Oricas. Near mint at 22, nice. So let's make sure that's near mint. Yep, like new. So somebody has a really nice deals on theirs, and it quickly actually goes up to 30. We have Mild Light Play near mint at about the 26 mark also, but if these two get sold, or two sellers sell out, it looks like we quickly go back up to that $30 mark over here as well. But at least it's a first ed. And this is actually, the first ed is light play here too. It's just really entertaining to see, like, hand traps prevalence come back so strong. Another one, Droll and Lockbird, is seeing heavy play in a lot of zoo lists as well. 743 for the rare here, although you can save a little on eBay. Oh, that's light play. Never mind. We have $7, so you're saving only about that 43 cents. $7 lowest is not something I would have expected this to stick at. I would have expected it to trail down and kind of just be a trend, but being only an STBL and OTS Super, as we've seen with Anti-Spell Fragrance, when an OTS Super gets in demand, there's actually just not that much of a quantity of it. They're only really cheap when they're not in demand. When then they're superfluous. Learning words today with John Moore. But I don't know that I still would buy into it as being one of the best, but it definitely does give a lot of decks in the format a lot of trouble. I think limiting them after that first Broad Bull search can be very strong, basically forcing them into Trident Pass, and that can be really good for you. So against Zoo, it is great. Activate Diagram, pop something, pretty good. So the top decks in the meta just happen to be really smacked by this card. I would have these accessible going into the WCQ, definitely. So if you don't have yours, I would be trading for them or potentially buying them. Again, hand traps just seem to be dominating this format. And talking about hand traps, one that came in first place at the Swedish Nationals, although he said it was the worst hand trap in his deck and he didn't have access to Ash, is Ghost Reaper. I was actually talking to Shuping about this card, and we both agree that in the future this card is likely to go up during Link format, as Zoo will get an additional hit but probably still be relevant. So Ghost Reaper then would be putting in a lot of work, but I also think in the future of Link format, for hitting cards like our what's it called? Firewall Dragon. There we go. Firewall Dragon getting hit out of the extra could be a huge bane to a lot of decks. So I think this is one of those cards not to sleep on. It never really got a cheap version yet, but again, it could very well end up in the Megatins, so it's something to hold off, wait, and see what happens with it. But I think after Megatins, when it's at that bottom out price if it appeared in the Megatins, this is a card to get. I also think that if it didn't end up in the Megatins, oh man, we all made a mistake sleeping on this card. So it's really questionable if you would want to get your playset now, but I would think to wait until the Megatin announcement. And if it doesn't end up, this would be one of the first cards I buy. If it does end up in there, it's one of the cards I would hold off onto and wait until it bottoms out and then trade for as many as I can. Probably not investing capital because it is a risk investment. And we see over here 14-14, 14-48, and then into 15. So again, those Orcas. Back to our regularly scheduled market watch here. Set rotation is actually headed back up and bottomed out to about 50 cents. And at one point, you could buy a bunch for 50 cents on TCG Player. You can no longer do that. But we have plenty of high quantities near the dollar mark holding the line. So I think it will take a long time to go up. But it's just one of those cards. Don't leave it on your bulk in the table when you're at a regionals. And we see it's $1 on eBay. Anytime, the lowest you can really sell a card for is $1 on eBay. eBay is going to take that 30 cents and then 3 to 4 more cents. So the seller is then going to spend a stamp. Realistically, the seller is getting almost nothing for this card on eBay because of that PayPal fee. So it's actually way more profitable to sell it on TCG Player. It's just rough out here to be trying to sell cards on eBay that are in this price range. Predaplant Scorpio is slowly trailing upwards. We see a low of, I believe that's 225-ish before it quickly starts to go up. Similarly on eBay, there's only one listing below the 260 mark at $2 exact. Let's see if they have multiples here. 16 available, so holding the line at a decent amount. And then it quickly does go up. Again, that's mainly because the lower card is on eBay, the more it hurts to sell it on eBay, but this man's is holding the absolutely lowest line. So again, we just see eBay somewhat crushing the price on a card despite taking the heavier fees. Then, Twin Twisters, this is the perfect time to be picking up a super rare copy of Twin because, weirdly enough, it's the cheapest one. A first ed BOSH is actually, at one copy only of course, is the cheapest, and then you still have enough in the low range below 6 comparatively to the common being $5. And the Mega Tin ones are for some reason 6+ as well, comparatively to the BOSH. So it's actually cheapest to get an original print right now. I would highly suggest going over here. I think that's even cheaper than you can get on eBay for either super. Yep, we see here at $6.20 for BOSH. We see $6.20 for Mega Pack. And then on the commons, bottoming out the lowest are $5.19, which are a penny higher than TCG. So, overall, it's just really interesting that there's such deals on the Super Twin Twisters. If you've been waiting, go ahead and get it. But I do also think, and I will warn you, that I think this is the new MST. I think this will end up in multiple structure decks down the road. Rather than it just being MST in our structure decks, I think this will get peppered in every other structure deck or every couple structure decks. So it's not a card I would be investing in, but if you want your super original copy, I can't imagining it dip too hard under 5 in the near future. If you've been waiting for the nice holo version, why not get yourself an original first ed, as those are what happen to be some of the lowest prices. And then Anti-Spell Fragrance. I actually touched on this a little bit earlier in the Market Watch. The OTS version, still hanging around that $10 mark. I think that's super interesting because going into Nationals, I think this should be in your arsenal for side decking against the Pendulum Magicians. The Pendulum Magicians will be at full power. Skullcrow Bat Joker at 3, Wisdom Eye at 3, Pendulum Call at 3. And they will have their set coming out. I believe that's Pendulum Evolution, but I'm not entirely sure I'm being right on the name there. But the Pendulum set is coming, and they're not a deck to sleep on. I do expect them to pierce the top cut in some way, shape, or form. And a matchup you might play more than once throughout the day, but probably not more than 2 or 3 times, unless you're just having the weirdest tournament ever. Again, it's just not a deck to sleep on, but it's not a deck you'll come into contact often with. But this is probably the best card to have against them, even more so than Unending Nightmare. And if you only want to, you know, devise 3 slots for them, it's a really good card, and it's something that you can side even in the Zoom Mirror. Although, you know, if they're able to extend past just their normal summon, where you're going to pop it before they can Trident, then it was unfortunate, because without Barrage or other extenders, they would have had to deal with this. Although Cosmic Cyclone is pretty common, I don't know that people would keep it in so much. It's just it's a card that I've been seeing actually played in side decks in Zoo for Zoo Mirrors. So, thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this Market Watch. I think the hand traps are super interesting, especially the difference in price here. I think Ghost Ogre is not a card to sleep on, although I don't know that it'll be going up. I think Droll and Lockbird is a little pricey, but the format kind of dictates that it's needed, almost. I wouldn't say needed, but it's very strong for the format. It's one of the very rare few formats where this will actually dictate the pace of a match, rather than having ways to continue play under it. So, thanks for watching. Again, give this a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. I have changed some things on the Patreon. If you click the link down below, you are able to sign up and potentially send in cards for me, Billy, or Jackie to sign, and send back to you guys if you send return postage. So, if you want to support the channel, have been looking for a way to, and want to get something potentially back out of it, you don't go to events too much and might want Billy to sign something, there are ways to do that. Thanks for watching, and again, this has been another Market Watch.